Hello everybody. How are you all doing tonight? Just going to do our quick pre-game check just to make sure everything is working. Won't be a sec. Hello. Yes, it does. Good, I don't need that anymore. Brilliant. Well, here's another stream. We're going to stream more Epstein Files content, but there is a bit of information I do need to disclose on that before we continue. Now, last time we went for, let me just open up the page, which is right there. So, DOD disclosures. Last stream, which was stream number 4, we finished the dataset 1. Now that was a large set of data. We're now starting on dataset 2, and we have a good chance of actually finishing dataset 2 today. And I'm going to explain why. But first, as always, any profits and proceeds from this video, it will go towards, if I can just bring up the correct link, wherever it is. I should really actually prepare. Yes, all proceeds gained for this content and my other Epstein coverage all go to the Speak Out Act Reclaim organization, SOAR, founded by Virginia Guthrie, now unfortunately deceased. And while the organization is not currently accepting donations publicly, and I was unable to set any official fundraiser in these streams and these videos via YouTube, I will donate the proceedings when possible, or to a similar organization if that's not possible, if the organization becomes defunct. And proof of that will be released when I do so, and if I indeed have to send the money to another organization, I will let you guys know in advance and be fully transparent on that. So basically what we're doing with these streams is, essentially I am narrating all of it. All of the Epstein files, everything dropped. And it's starting with this most recent one, the released by the Epstein Files Transparency Act. And dataset 1, there are currently 8 datasets altogether. We have finished dataset 1 with over 3,000 files. We are now on dataset 2. However, if you view the files, it will actually go from 3,000 to 3,000 something to 3,857. So less than 1,000 files to begin with from that. But also something you will notice if you look at them, there should be 698 files. Now I calculated this all beforehand because something wasn't adding up. In dataset 2, there should be 698 files altogether because they're all numbered. They're all numbered 1 to, well, currently at the end here is 3,857. And at the start, for dataset 2, we started off at 3,159. So there should be 698 files altogether in dataset 2. And I intend to do this all in one stream. And after dataset 2, I'll probably call it. If it's a short stream, it's a short stream. That's absolutely fine. That said, there should be, according to logic, counting up, there should be 698 files. However, before this stream I counted, and there are actually 574 files that I can access. That is publicly accessible here. And bear in mind that I downloaded this, and it matches as well. It matches what's publicly on here now, but I downloaded all the files beforehand, basically as soon as it went up, and that was before like redactions were made, extra redactions were made, and files were taken off. So, you know, you would think I would have all of it, but no. There are actually 574 files altogether that I have, where there should be 698, meaning that there are 124 files missing from this selection. Now, bear in mind, the Epstein Files Transparency Act is meant to release the entire lot. So there is already missing content here. So as for why that's the case, well, we don't know. Obviously, I'm sure people can speculate as much as they like. But it could be, for example, protecting a witness identity and therefore therefore nothing showed. However, that doesn't make sense, as there are apparently documents that are like fully redacted, like it's a full black box. So these are files just not appearing in this in the transparency release. However, I've scattered ahead with a few of the videos. They do contain photos of people. So it could be witness protection, or at very least, it's crucial to the investigation. That's the optimistic view. The less optimistic, should we say the less optimistic view is that things are being hidden for a reason, and not those reasons are not good. That said, as we go through them, you will be able to see the files. And in fact, I will shift right now to... Sorry, I'm not the most organized when streaming. We will shift to the PDFs. If it will let me. Okay, done. Let me just move that up. There we go. So this is the first image. This is Epstein. This starts at file number 3159. So this numbering is continuing on from dataset 1. And I don't think there were any files missing from dataset 1. I did have a look. Maybe I'm wrong, but people can obviously double check. And if it's missing, it won't be on my account as well. It will be just because the DOJ has not released it. But that said, you can read the file name at the top. Not sure if you can see it. Or you can certainly read it at the bottom as well. So these photos contain people. If there's any kind of chronological order to the photos, and there are missing photos in between, you may be able to fill in the gaps through logical deduction. But that said, there's a lot of content missing from this data set. But we are looking to get dataset 2 finished today, and once it's finished, I will end the stream. Well, hopefully I can show you a cat. They're not here at the moment, but I did check on them. They are downstairs. I did have to quickly make a hefty old-fashioned cocktail. Because if you were around yesterday, or if you saw the video I put up, because that was basically the only highlight from that stream, some of the documents can get very repetitive, very boring, and they can cause one to go insane. So I think a little bit of alcohol is absolutely fine. I've already had half a bottle of my homemade wine, which I very much enjoyed. And also my illness is... things were mostly past. It was definitely COVID that I had. And so my energy levels were just right down in the bottom, and I couldn't really speak or do anything properly. But I've been fighting through it. I'm getting past that now. So I'm looking to get these streams, catch up to everything that's been done, and be ready and waiting to do more Epstein Files when they are dropped. They technically should have already been dropped, so I'm not sure what's going on. I'll leave it to the involved people to get involved with that. All right, so that's my initial disclosure out the way. This is the information I have, but there are, as I say, 124 missing files from dataset 2, and they are at the moment it seems to be pictures that contain people, which is why they're separate. And as you can see, it's the man himself, Epstein, in this one, and looking directly at the camera. So we are looking for anything narratable. So like documents, signs, anything of note that I can read. Although sometimes when I do these streams and there hasn't been anything for a while, I will literally read labels, book titles, fire escape signs, anything I can read, I will try and do. But if it's anything like, the back of a laptop or something, I can read the serial number, sure. I might skip over the small print. Oh yeah, we got our first comment of the day. Helsing Ruler, I believe that is. I thought we were still missing a few million files that have yet to be uploaded. Yeah, we are. We absolutely are. And I'm just over 3,000 at the moment, so that'll be fun to go through. But this is what we got so far, and already we're missing files from dataset 2 especially. If we get the general theme that they are photos with people, while it could be to protect a witness or protect a victim, it could also be a more nefarious purpose to protect perpetrators, essentially, or protect people involved in this whole mess. That said, I have no way of knowing which is which, so I would say take that with a pinch of salt. And it isn't my place to sort of make this into a political agenda or political attack, which I feel like a lot of YouTube creators are doing. I just want to try and cut this down the middle, read it, get whatever information I can, because, other people might be Team Republican, Team Democrat, all that kind of stuff. I am very much on the team of the victims, and I want to see the people involved face justice. And if it means I have to read every single thing possible, that's what I'm going to do. Because I am a mad lad. Anyway, the thumbnail was truly brilliant. You have plenty of content. The thumbnail... my thumbnail here should be a black box. I think my thumbnail on the third... It's... I saw the Maduro raid, which I thought, okay... Obviously, there's a lot of controversy in the aftermath, but that in itself was pretty funny. So that's why that was the thumbnail. But yeah, black box for now, unless I find like a funny meme or something, just to lighten the mood. Although this is a very serious issue, you know, I might make jokes just to alleviate the tension a little bit. But you know, this is a very serious issue, so I don't think a thumbnail particularly does this justice. That isn't just a black box. Anyway. Well, since I live in EU, I think you know what team I am. Well, I'm not in the EU anymore. But yeah. But I'm very much on the team of the victims, and I think everybody can respect that, or at least get behind that. I don't want to make any attacks on any politicians or anything like that. You know, you do not want to hear me talk politics, trust me. I try and keep things down the middle where I can, so that's what I'm going to do. Anyway, I think I've yapped on for about 10 minutes. That's just enough time for people to arrive in the stream, and to come say hi, and to ask initial questions. I will try and keep an eye on the chat in the stream as well, but obviously my focus is going to be on the PDFs here. Now, all these Epstein files, for the moment, have all been PDF files. Not to do with that internet slang to describe literal pedophiles. PDF files, at the moment, they've just been as images. I am aware there are documents later on in this, so, you know, I'll do that when I can. Some of the stuff, the documents taken via a camera by the FBI's camera people, that is often pixelated as hell and difficult to read. But I'm sure I'll be able to explain that and go into detail with that when we get there. But at the moment, I'm going to try and read everything I can, but I also make observations where I can. I'm not a cop or anything like that. I don't have that kind of background. It's just, you know, I just call it as I see it from what I see in front of me. Don't take my opinion as like an expert opinion. I'm just the guy that reads stuff. I can do some reading comprehension and analyze the text and all of that, but any other comments, I'm by no means an expert. So you should absolutely listen to the creators covering that have more of an expertise in the field. Anyway, as I say, I've yapped on. I've got to get started. There's not as many files as I wanted, but I've still got to do them. But as I say, the man himself, and that looks like a very, very nice roof. Who is this? That could also be him. But it's very, very dark. And this is redacted. Those don't actually look like people. They could be monks, I suppose. Oh. But yeah, that's a bit redacted. The faces here are redacted. I'm not sure if these are actually people. They look more like statues to me. Okay. This is Epstein. I think that could be Ghislaine Maxwell. Obviously, his accomplice that is currently alive. Okay. And this is a statue shop. That's Maxwell. I recognize the back of the head. And obviously, that's Epstein himself. Sadly, nothing to read, though. But at least I've got more to comment on. So yeah, looks like these two are on holiday on their own for now. In statues. Yeah, nothing to read here. Yeah, we've seen a lot of these two people. Okay. Epstein's on the piano. What's he got written on his legs? I can read that at least. But no, you can see the problem. It's many something? Quite possibly. But yeah, he's playing the piano there. Nothing to read though. Nothing to read there. Oh, look at this cunt smiling. Nothing to read there. Okay, right. Who's this guy, I wonder? Okay. As I say, calling it down the middle, he is in the photo. I can't not comment on that. You know, calling it down the line, yep, absolutely, but if I see it, I'm going to say it. That's Maxwell. This is an unknown, I want to say it's an unknown woman. Could be, I don't know. She seems like an adult, so it might not be a victim. It could be someone else. You know, either, you know, they could be involved somehow, or they could not be. But regardless, we don't know who that is. We know who this is, though. Yeah. Anyway, nothing to read, though. Yeah, definitely a woman. That's Maxwell, nothing to read. Ah, look at him! Well, there's nothing to read, but plenty to see, I'm sure. Maybe we can make this the thumbnail. Maybe. I can't read the logo on the bottle. Yeah, that's the logo. I'm zoomed in 3,200%, but you can't actually read the logo. These photos are not the high def, but at least these aren't the FBI official photographers going around the place. These are just, you know, amateur photos, essentially. So, might have a bit more difficulty reading stuff with these, but we'll see. Well, nothing to read here. Oh, hang on, what does that say? Mengle, or Menge, something like that. Some kind of tube. Nothing to read. I mean, there's... Someone would probably say there's cultural appropriation. Me, I don't care about that, but nothing to read. Nothing to read. Nothing to read. Now, these photos are connected, so if there's any missing stuff, you can deduce that it's something to do with this scene. Silk shirts and all of that, so not sure what that's about. Nothing to read there. That's Maxwell. Nothing to read there. That's... I think that's still Bill Clinton. And that's Epstein. Nothing to read there. What's he got? So, the yellow around the top. I mean, I don't know. It's a bit of a long shot. In the UK, that's often found on, like, multi-pack cans of soda. Or, you know, fizzy drinks or some kind. Non-alcoholic. Or it's possibly a beer. But it could also be like a can out of a multi-pack, non-alcoholic, you know, drink, like a Diet Coke or something. Oh dear, my nose is getting stuffy. Where is my medicine? If not, I'm not going to worry. But yeah, it's just my nose is getting bunged up. Yeah, the illness still has not gone away yet, but yeah, it's still sort of there. Not great. Anyway, nothing to read. Nothing to read. Nothing to read. There's nothing to read there. That's Maxwell in a different location. Okay, what are we dealing with here? That's a Cessna plane. Don't think that's Epstein, but that is Maxwell. Maxwell features a lot. G Gulp. That's what that says. The time is 7:30. Yeah, it's 7:30, likely in the morning, just due to the daylight. That's what it says. Okay, that's Maxwell. What does this say? Hello, Clara. Hello. My apologies. If this is your first stream, I will get occasionally interrupted by the cats as they lick my feet. I will try and pick them up, actually, and show them to the camera. Look, Clara is wanting some attention. Hello. Would you like to come up and say hello? Would you? You might. I think you do. Oh, you're okay. You're okay. Let me see if I can get a cat. No, can't, Clara. He's a good girl. There's a good girl. Well done. You're okay. You're okay. Let's put you down there. Whoop. Yeah. Sometimes I've gone and have to sit on my lap, like, for a decent amount of time. She's normally quite comfortable. I think she's more receptive now, but, you know, obviously she doesn't... If she wants to go down, she has to go down. Coke is in, well, the drink. Well, yeah, Coca-Cola, not the red stuff. It's got, like, it had the red label on the top and the silver stuff, so I suspect that was a soda. Could obviously be a beer, like a local beer for the Americans, but I want to say that's probably a soda. Now, unfortunately, I can't read this. That is unreadable, as is this. I mean, these photos can be more forgiven, obviously, because they're amateurs. They're also taken by the fucking perpetrators, so yeah, I'm not sure whether to curse them even more or whatever, or thank them for at least taking them in the first place. That's Maxwell again. Okay, what does that say? Well, it's got the wings. No, still not there. HCET. That's what that says. But apart from that, we've got nothing. Oh, cute little dog. Yeah, well, I hope the dog's alright, at least. Yeah, we got no close-up there. If I can get a decent close up and read what that is, I'll read that. But apart from that, nothing to read there. That's Maxwell again. No parking. Helicopter parking only. All others will be towed. How on earth do you tow a helicopter? Please tell me. I don't think we have any helicopter pilots in the Death Watch. We might have a helicopter pilot somewhere. Who, how do you tow an illegally parked helicopter? That's very, very curious. As I say, still can't read anything on this patch here. Read a little bit of that one. Nothing to read on the shoulder one. But hopefully we'll get a close one. Again, file numbers at the top. I'm not sure how legible that is for people watching on the stream. But if there are missing numbers on there, that means there's likely a redacted photo from that scene. So we've seen Maxwell wear the same thing. We've seen a certain president, or former president, around. So yeah, it's possible that there's other stuff going on. Either a witness or, a conspirator that they can't go after yet. What are you doing, Clara? Don't go behind my PC. Worst case scenario, by the way. If the stream suddenly ends or whatever, before I say it, it's likely that my cats have unplugged my PC. They like to go back there for some reason. I really don't know why. I suspect it's because it's like a hidden corner. But yeah, it's not happened recently, but I'm still paranoid about it. Anyway, nothing else to read. Sorry, I promise I'm just not padding out this stream by talking about my cats and rambling on. I will get on with it. Okay. What do these signs say? Well, that's Chinese. That's a number 1224213. That's what the number says. A warm hidden spot. Absolutely. I just don't want my cats getting electrocuted. And a big forklift for the helicopter? Yeah, absolutely. I suspect. Yeah. To be honest, I can imagine that scenario wouldn't happen very often, because who the fuck just joyrides a helicopter and just parks it anywhere? Okay. Le Grill. Snack bar. Le Go. Okay. South of France, possibly. Italy. Vile Gridden. That's what it says on the back of Epstein's top. Apart from that, nothing else to read. That's Epstein and Maxwell. Change. Cambayo Wizen. Wetch something. Okalam. Yeah, these uniform guys, I want to say looks more Italian. South of France or Italy, I want to say that's what this location is. Although that said, I do know that Epstein has a property, an apartment in Paris. It's possible that this is from there. But from what I can tell, the Interpol has not had the chance to raid it yet, or go for it, or something like that. I think someone mentioned it in the last stream. Obviously, the Americans can't go for an apartment in Paris. They need international partners. So I'm not sure if there was any cooperation there. I'm not 100% sure, but I do know that Epstein had or has. No, it would have been had. He's fucking dead. He had an apartment in Paris. I'm not sure what the status of that apartment is yet. But it might show up in the photos later. Okay. That Heli Air Monaco. Monaco is okay. Sort of the south of France. Monaco is actually a separate state. It's a city-state in the south of France. It's surrounded by France on all locations. Monaco is sort of there. So this is the south of France, really. South of France, Monte Carlo area, possibly Italy. Okay. Let's have a look. Oh, God. Live when I go on a break. Nice. Oh, cool. Absolutely. Although the VOD will be saved afterwards, as will the interesting bits. If your kittens are teething, they'll eat your cables back there. I don't think they're teething. They're not. They're getting a bit older. They've been using their claws a lot. They've been scratching. But I love your channel. I listen to stories down there every day, but you lost a sub. Keep politics out of your stories. What? This isn't politics. As I say, I'm splitting it down the middle. I'm on the side of the victims, but the stories are still there. This is just something extra I'm doing. Thomas Fitzpatrick, I've heard that name before. I'll look it up afterwards. But no, Cure Red, please don't be so dramatic. The stories are up as well, but I do other things as well. What I'm doing here does not fuck with my day-to-day content. But, considering there's AI everywhere and, my place in the YouTube community is a little bit uncertain at the moment. It's good for me to go on to different things, and especially because this is a cause I like. This is a cause I feel like I need to throw my weight behind, and narrate and help out where I can. And is very experimental. Well, that's from that perspective. Also, I said I would, so I've got to do it. Anyway, Air Monaco. Yeah, that's the south of France area, with Monaco being a separate autonomous city-state within that sort of area. Okay, nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Oh, hang on. UE8, that's what that says. Red carpet, that's fucking Clinton again. Woo! Yeah, okay. Nothing to read there. Oh, God, that's... Epstein is there with all the flags. I think that flag is Monaco. Not sure. Oh, that flag is... No. Blue, white, red. Sort of opposite, leaning across. That could be the French flag. Oh, God. My cat is trying to steal my socks. Clara, don't do that. Here's your good girl. Here's your good girl. Don't eat that. That is medicine. Right. Sorry. They're all right. They're in a very curious stage at the moment. They like to jump up to places they should not be jumping up to, and sometimes I need to keep an eye on them. Nothing to read there. That's Maxwell. Who is this? Somebody famous. I don't recognize them though. This looks like Thailand. Thailand, Cambodia, that sort of area. Not sure who this person is though. But they're clearly on there. We've moved on from Monaco or that south of France area. That's somebody else. Nothing to read here. That's nobody. That's Maxwell, but that's obviously not Epstein. Not sure who that is. I don't recognize that. Does anybody recognize who this person is? Not sure. Anyway, all right. Well, that guy's got thick ass eyebrows. Not sure who this guy is. Again, I'm I don't follow the rich and famous. But nothing to read there. God damn Clinton again. He's all over the place here. But nothing to read there. That's Epstein. No documents. Nothing to read. Nothing to read again. Okay, winter area. Okay, heavy winter area, because that's horse with sleds. Finland, maybe? Probably a Western country. I want to say Finland. But nothing to read. Nothing to read there. Okay. Brot Rhein Van Houen. Okay, Germany. Obviously, the Rhine, there's a different spelling of Rhine that I've seen before. Van Houen? I don't know. Clara, what are you doing? Hey, get off there. Don't. Stop it. Yeah, she likes to steal my socks. I want to say it's Germany. It could be Luxembourg, maybe? I don't know. But it's... The language looks German, but not quite German. It could be Switzerland, possibly. Somebody can possibly clear that up if they speak the language. But apart from that, nothing to read there. Sandbar, exit. Bar, nothing to read there apart from that. That's McDonald's. Heard yet? Yeah, but apart from that, nothing to read there. I mean, it could very well be Switzerland, actually. If it's connected. Thick coats. We had the winter forest and the sleds before. Could be Switzerland, maybe? I don't know. But nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. That's Gucci, but nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Little dog. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. No images produced. Okay, well, at least they've actually put... I mean, at least they've made an image just to say there's no image produced. But we do know there are missing items here. So that's a bit weird to see. Nothing to... Well, there are stuff here. Aimed bodies. Now, this could be maimed bodies. Rained bodies. Anything like that. But apart from that, nothing to read here. What's the front? Something... Jets is that word? That's very, very pixelated. You can't necessarily see. Conference, I think that word will say, but nothing to read there. On a segue, nothing to read there. Okay, right, we got multiple images. That's good. Multiple images. So this is an album of a concert, but there's nothing to read. This one's heavily redacted. So it could be they're at like the side of the stage, and this could be a member of their party, for example. But there's nothing to read, it looks like. Okay, this is good. So we're getting multi-image PDFs now. Or at least in this case. But there's nothing to read. I don't know who this band is. I don't recognize them immediately. But sadly, nothing to read. Okay. Oh, God. All right. Oh, what have we got here? So, they've likely outright deleted or just not released certain images. This one is a complete blank page. Now, I'm aware out there is a way to get past redactions for the documents. Like, you can highlight, you can basically click, copy the words, and paste them in a separate document. However, these are images. I don't think I'm able to do that. Not for lack of trying. Clara, leave my socks alone, you silly cat. I like those socks as well. You're lucky I let a lot of your shit slide. Anyway, this one is completely redacted. Whatever this is, completely. Okay. Something else as well. These could be... I'm seeing named at the bottom. These are the file names. So it could very well be that the file names are included. But it's just, this is a massive file just to say all of this stuff is redacted. Heavily. I mean, from what we can see here, this is like the scanned permeated edge of like a photo album, I think. So yeah, these are historical photos. Looking around the edge, this is an outdoor area. They've got a door here. And this, at the side here, looks like a palm tree. So yeah, there could be... If it's a palm tree, we've seen palm trees before for the actual island itself. Which, yeah, it could be from there. Perforated edge again. This could be like a massive photo album, for example, or a binder. Yeah, they haven't covered it all. This one's like an internal room. It's very, very bright, so I want to say it's like an outside environment, possibly, or at least the outside shining in. Now, based on the palm tree before, it's possible that these photos were taken on the island or somewhere with a tropical environment. Now, I can't necessarily tie that previous one to this one, but if there are several photos in quick succession, it's likely, you know, it's more likely they were taken together. There could be like a change of scene anywhere during all of this, but, you know, based on what we saw before, with the sort of the light back, you know, light background here on the side that's not covered, we can go down here. And we can see, I mean, it's sort of a similar color frame. So I want to say that this is part of the same frame. Based on the palm trees before, and based on what we've seen here, and based on the photos we've seen before from the island, these photos could be people on the island. And is all being redacted. Of course, this could be completely separate. It could be, you know, the city of Monaco during daytime, for example, if they've been there before. But yeah. Okay. This is the next one. Again, a bright environment. That's Epstein. That's somebody else. Yeah, this environment here is not the island. Because, you know, different shrubs. This is more like arid. Recognizing sort of the shrubs, boulders, is mountainous. I want to say that this looks like Spain to me. Yep, that guy. Not sure who that is. But a lot of stuff redacted. This guy is not redacted. I want to know where that is. And that's a Cessna. Heavy mountains in the distance. I want to say that's Spain, possibly. But of course, it could be anywhere else. My geography is not great. I am not as well traveled as I should be. Private plane, though. But yeah, I want to say Spain. But yeah, it's much the same. I mean, that's Epstein. There's this guy here. I mean, he could be unredacted because he's dead or something. I don't know. He does look like he's getting on in age. But just picking up a rock. Okay, so that ends at 3255. So, while I did say there were a certain amount of files missing at the start, it could be that they're condensed and corroborated into, like, a file like this. Because the next one after that, yeah, 36236. Yeah, it could be they're all condensed into one PDF file. But, as we saw there, most of it's redacted. So I will still count it as a huge number of files missing. Especially what was above here. I mean, this could be a change of scene. But we saw what I think is a palm tree before. I mean, let me know if you agree or not. We saw what looked like a palm tree before. So, that could be stuff on the island. But regardless, there is nothing to read in any of these. I've got to focus on the reading. Because I'm by no means an expert. What does that say, though? Oh, okay. That says Oro Ranch. Now, we know previously there was a Zorro Ranch. Zorro Ranch is in America somewhere. Is it New Mexico, maybe? Sure. Could be New Mexico. I've never been to New Mexico. What do you think? Could this be New Mexico? I'm sure there's a lot of Americans out there that will tell me. Clara, what are you doing? Do you want to come up and say hello? You can sit on my lap for a bit. I'll save you going for my socks. It's okay. Shh. Okay, no. No, I can sometimes get sitting in my lap, but no, not there. Anyway, moving on. Top Gun shit. Is that Epstein with a mustache? I don't know. Still can't read that logo, whatever it says, but nothing to read there. Alright, we got another big one. That's 62. Alright, so this is file 3276. And this is file 3362. Now, I'm not optimistic about this one, because this one starts off entirely redacted. Okay. We got the leaves here. Now, it does look like palm leaves. These could be photos of victims or like compromising stuff, but regardless, we can't read anything here. Okay. That's curious. They want to cut half of it off, but they want to have this guy featured. I'm sure if you guys know who they are, you can speak up. You can let me know. Regardless, nothing to read here. There's possibly a lot of victims. Oh boy. So the ranch. What does that say? Is that? Yeah, that's Colorado. Yeah, that's not Orlando. Colorado. So yeah, Colorado. He might have a ranch in Colorado. He has something. Regardless, this is his private plane, and is fairly infamous for the trafficking. So if that's the case, and if this black box, all these black boxes represent victims, I can understand the censorship because you've got to protect their identity, and you got to protect the victims at all costs. This does look like a ranch. Could it be the Zorro Ranch that we keep hearing about? Quite possibly. But regardless, as cute as that horse may be, there is nothing to read. This looks like Scotland. There's literally an old-fashioned gamekeeper there. That looks like a gun or something. Like that's a gun that's like a break-action shotgun, which some gamekeepers have. That's pretty common in Scotland, and indeed they're wearing tweed. That's probably Scotland where they are. Of course, I could be wrong again. It could be their Zorro Ranch, and that's just how they do things there. But regardless, there is 0 things to read. Possible island. That's Antarctica. So yeah, it looks like they're just posting photos of their travels. But nothing to read. Not sure who this guy is. I bet I was saying, like, not sure who this guy is in my entire state, and people are like, oh no, that's this guy, Bill Gates, or whatever. I don't know. Regardless, nothing to read. Now, that was not nearly 100 photos there. There was quite a lot, but I still think some were actually cut out. Three, 4, 5. It might be that some were cut out in that one. I'm not going to go back and count all of them, but a significant amount, I think, were cut out there, redacted. Regardless, I can't read that. Nothing to read. We got more. Nothing to read. There's Epstein again. Nothing to read. Nothing to read. That says D. There's nothing to read, even on the logos of this plane. Nothing to read. Nothing to read. That could be the Zorro Ranch. From what I, it looks like a ranch. It's a big ass place in the middle of nowhere. It's possible. I don't know. This, on the other hand, does not. I don't know where this would be. Could be Spain, I suppose, because I've seen some shitty houses in Spain like that. Oh dear. Sorry, nothing to read yet, but I want to be able to read something juicy. Nothing there. Nothing to read. Redacted again. This one's redacted, but on the side here they've got white picket fences. I mean, it looks like a horse arena, from what I can see. But nothing to read, nothing to read, nothing to read, nothing to read, nothing to read again, nothing to read. All of this is completely redacted. Can't even get any context for it. So yeah, this ends at 3315. The next one is file 3362. So yeah, there are actual files actively being skipped. I can confirm that. Even though, like, some of these are obviously condensed just to redact them, a lot of them are just outright being left out. So there was no effort by the DOJ to release them in the first place, which is a bit worrying. Nothing to read here. Sadly, it may just be that there's nothing to read in this entire data set, but I want to show everybody that I'm being thorough. There's nothing to read here either. Nothing to read here. Don't know who that guy is. Nothing to read here. Nothing to read here. This is... Oh, Jesus! Yeah, that's exactly what it looks like when I zoom in anyway, so there's nothing to read there. Yeah, sneaky dealings going on there, but nothing to read there. Epstein again, but nothing to read. I mean, even a restaurant menu, that could be something I could read. Yeah. So the whole massage thing, that was sort of the cover for what was going on. Like the whole erotic stuff and from there going on to worse things. But massage was the... it was essentially the cover. So yeah, I guess it's not surprising for me to see him actually having a massage. Because this looks like possibly a guy. Possibly like a professional lady as well. But yeah, there's certainly nothing to read. I don't want to dwell on that. Can't even read the label. There's nothing to read there. Nothing to read. Nothing to read there, certainly, but yeah. I don't know. Well, the Epstein's there. I mean, I thought that was Clinton. I'm not sure. I don't think that is. Nothing to read. Boss. That's what that reads. But nothing to read. Oh, hang on. That says police and the van in the back. Sorry. Really not much to read at all, but I will find something. Nothing to read. Dude's singing. At least he's happy. Yeah. Yeah, that's height difference. I'm around smiling. This is a victim. Jesus Christ. I mean, it's... Well, I don't know if it's outright a victim. Obviously, this is still an ongoing case, but it doesn't look good. I'm sorry. I had to have a drink, but no, I can't bear looking at that photo anymore. Anyway. Ali Dare. on something. Nothing else to read there. Nothing to read there. Jesus Christ, Bill. Nothing to read there. Ho, ho, ho! I know where this is. A few of our American friends may not. That says 10. But more importantly, this is number 10 Downing Street, the Prime Minister's house of my country, the UK. I'd be very interested to know when this photo was taken, because in this house is the UK government of the day. Why she's there, I do not know. I don't think they do tourist stuff at number 10. Certainly, if I was PM, I wouldn't be tolerating that shit. But yeah, that's the government office of my country, and she's right at the door. So yeah, nothing to read here. Oh, hang on. What is this? So I'm going to try and zoom in a little bit. I'm also looking at the on my second monitor over here. Like, I can see what you guys see, and that's sometimes a little bit clearer for you. But regardless, it's pixelated as fuck. I can't read it, but it does look like these could be quotation marks here and here, and I think this could be like the person who made that quote. I want to say, like, based on the fact that I've read that kind of stuff before, that looks like a quote of some kind. That said, if there's to a number 10, the red briefcase is often associated with the Chancellor of my country. One in particular. Well, okay. I shouldn't talk. I as much as I would love to talk shit about the politics of my country, that's not what the aim of this stream is to do. But yeah, that could be the Chancellor's briefcase. Of course, we could be in a completely separate scene, bearing in mind we've got Bill Clinton here. I want to say is more likely that, to be honest. But regardless, this looks like a quote you would like stick on a wall, like a motivation poster. Anyway, nothing else. No, nothing else in this PDF. Nothing to read here or here. A big photo opportunity. This guy looks nervous as hell. Yeah, wonder why. Papers all around. I can't unfortunately read anything on them. In fact, nothing is written on these papers from what I can see. But yeah, there was this quote here. All of these guys are around. Epstein isn't there unless he's the one taking the photo, but that's Maxwell. Alright, there's nothing to read here either. What's the time? Time is 5 o'clock. Dead. And these are a bunch of old telephones, so... Not sure. Oh, this is an old army uniform. It's possible... This might be a museum of some kind. Possibly. I want to say, because this does not look like a modern army uniform. To me, it does look like something from World War II or World War One. And indeed, that could be a wax figure. They might be in a museum. I mean, certainly with all these telephones, it's the kind of thing you see like a World War II spy drama. I think I saw Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, for example. From that. Yeah, okay, yeah, definitely wax figures. That's definitely a World War II museum. Okay, yeah, I called it. Can I read what's on here? This is completely irrelevant, but is actually something I can read, so, I want to give it a go. Sadly, no, it just looks like illegible scribbles, from what I can see. Sadly, nothing I can read. Now, I do know, so please don't worry, I'm not just going to skip over everything just because it's too blurry. Well, in this case, I have no choice, but we do get actual scanned official documents and everything. Scanned properly, you can actually read it. I've scouted ahead. You can actually do that, but because we're doing the entire lot, I've got to be thorough. I've just got to go through everything, and that includes these photos, even if I have to skip through a lot of it. So please don't worry about that. This isn't me, like, being a chicken shit or trying to worm my way out of it. It's just, I can't read it, and, I zoom in as well. If you can read it, great, let me know what it says, but I think it's reasonable for me to move on if I can't read it. Bill Clinton again. The general height, I want to say there's up to his shoulder. Bill Clinton is not a large man. So yeah, that's... As well as the general clothing as well, that could be another victim, potentially. Yeah, not a good look. We've seen that guy before. And we've seen this photo before. There's nothing to read there. That says police. This is a repeat from earlier. As is this. So yeah, this is a repeat. This is a repeat as well. What does that say? Visitor. That's a visitor. So visitor to wherever this place is. Visitor to America, possibly? I mean, yeah. Yeah, seen this before as well. I mean, I want to say this fence type, you can see it in my country. You might be able to see it in other countries as well. But this kind of small park fence, you do see that in some of the posher like park areas in my country. But obviously, it could be in other countries as well, I'm sure. But I just look at that and I just think, oh yeah, that's from my country. Anyway, nothing to read there. Again, that's Ghislaine Maxwell number 10, and we've seen this one before. No, that is not something we can read. And again, this is a repeat, but just in case, yeah, can't read that. And we've seen that before. No, we have not seen this before. Is there anything to read? Nothing on the walls. But sadly, nothing to read. Yeah, nothing to read there. But that's Epstein right there. Okay. Ooh. Clinton. Clinton is making a speech. Not sure where that is. No, palm trees. Could be... I mean, it could be anywhere, really. Okay, this one... That is Romania. That's a Romanian flag, I believe. Still can't work out what that thing says. But regardless, nothing to read. Okay, those are Irish wolfhounds, I believe. Not sure what that one is. KY and a B, and that's a red cross kind of thing. But regardless, nothing to read. Nothing. Hang on. Gooster or Rooster, something like that. One of those cool kid letters from the 90s. I can't read what this one says, but it's Ooster, Gooster, Fooster, Dooster, Cooster. One of those things. That's what that says. Yeah, what are you looking at? Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Or there. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Give me something to read. Oh, fucking Christ. Yeah. Redacted wall. Is that the private plane? I don't know if that's a private plane. It's curved. So that sort of makes me think private plane. However, judging from like this gap to here, that's very wide. So if it is a private plane, it's a huge one. But that does look like an underage girl to me. Like, you know, the other ones were suspicious. You saw the height difference. That looks like an underage girl. But nothing to read. But as I say, I'm calling it as I see it. You know, I do the same if, for example, that was Trump. So yeah, that's really not good. Anyway, and these guys as well. Nothing to read. I mean, these could be pilots or stuff on a plane, but it is large, but it's got that curvature to it. So yeah, could be a plane. Yeah, it's definitely a plane. Plane or a train. More likely a plane. But nothing to read there. I mean, certainly if it was a plane, I've not seen like that kind of sleeping arrangement before. But I guess private planes, you can do whatever the hell you want. And indeed they have here. Ooh. Nothing to read here, but... I mean... Is that the actual MJ? Is that a wax figure? I mean... If that person is standing, they're a kid. If they're sitting, maybe not. This person don't know. Not sure about these two black boxes, unless they're like even smaller kids. Is that MJ or is that a wax statue? Trouble is, it's MJ. I can't necessarily tell. Could be a wax statue, but it's if they're on a plane, if there's people around, if there's no other wax statues, it's probably MJ. And indeed, it wouldn't surprise me if that was the actual real MJ in that scenario. Nothing to read. There's Maxwell and her dog. What does this say? Nope, nothing there. That's a logo of some kind. Nothing to read here. Nothing to read here. Nothing to read here. Exit! And exit in probably a foreign language. But nothing to read here. Ooh, what the hell is that? That does look like the noodle making process, I think. But nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Like, I've got to make commentary at this point because there's nothing to read, and I don't want it to be a completely dead stream. Anyway, Pegrino. I think that's a water. Vital or Vital. I don't know. I don't get bottled water. Yeah. Some more famous figures here. Clinton again. Yeah. Although having said that, redacted photos. I mean, they're quite keen to show Clinton. There could be some political bias with this release. Sadly, I can only speculate on that because Clinton features a lot. Maybe if there's, maybe our current president, maybe he features somewhere. We don't know. I haven't seen him yet. But yeah, Clinton features a lot. Nothing to read there. Oh. Urs Pellegrino or something like that. It's one of those fancy Italian spring waters. Oh, hello. Hello, Clara. Yeah, I'm not going to try and pick you up again. I want to get through this. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. That's an adult, I want to say. Judging by the fashion. Shoulder height is closer to Clinton's. So yeah. That's an adult, I want to say. Could be a victim, obviously, or, that could be anyone. But I'm less inclined to say that's 100% a victim. It could be a victim still, but I want to say that's a fully grown lady. Possibly. Exit again, but apart from that, nothing to read here. Nothing to read here. Or here. A lot of famous people, but nothing to read. Reading is the focus here. Except I've not been able to read much, if anything, really. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. We're in a different areas. This is possibly his island now. Yeah, I recognise that bay, I think. Although this could be somewhere different, actually. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. There's lettering on the opposite side. Let's read that. ARPIGHTE, I think that says. Can't necessarily make it what it says in full, unfortunately. But nothing to read there. More selfies. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Ooh, that building in the distance. That could be part of his private island, because we did see in the last data set going through his island, blue roof, white walls. That was indicative of his island. Actually, this could very well be his island. That says Nike there. Nothing to read there. I thought that was like a wine cellar kind of thing. You can get that in some places, which is really good. BNG 06161 Hydra. Yeah, that's pointless information. I don't need to read that, but nothing there. So okay, so this is not on the plane anymore. This is on the yacht. So it's entirely possible that the previous photos where I said it was possibly a plane, while he did have a private jet, it could very well be a yacht as well. Although the windows were more indicative of a plane, the curvature was more indicative of a plane as well. Like a yacht would be more, oval-shaped curving up like that, right? Whereas a plane would be just a cylinder. And we saw more of a cylinder shape, I think. Nothing to read there. Okay, that's a clear photo, but sadly, that guy's got something to read, but I do not. Yeah, I can't necessarily make out what that says. Can we still make out? Yeah, we can sort of make out what it says. Blazing fast browser that was downloaded 1 million times the first day. Now it's the hottest something on the internet. Watch your back, Bill Gates. Why right-brainers will rule the future. The revolution in battlefield medicine. Comedy Central's Red Lab. Men's Lifestyle magazine, February 2005. So 2005, this was quite a while ago. Unless, of course, that's like an old magazine, but 2005, over 20 years ago now at this point. So yeah, this went back quite a way. Anyway, nothing to read there, nothing to read there. And we're at 3,400. Oh, fucking Christ. Please no ban, YouTube. Nothing to read there. Okay. I'm going to try and download the next lot. But yeah. So sorry, as I say, I can't necessarily predict what's going on. There's not been as much to read as I really wanted. But again, we are being thorough. So where are we going from? So 401. We're going up to 610. Okay. Let's hope this all opens and it doesn't crash like it did the time before. Anyway, how's everybody doing? If your kids are teething, they'll eat your cables back there. Yeah, I really don't want them chewing a cable. I've not seen them do it yet. There's other cables around the house, so like, yeah, I'm super paranoid about that. But for the most part, they have a lot of treats. They like to they seem to be more focused on scratching my dining room chairs. Although I do have a few like cardboard toys for them to actually scratch on. Cure Red, yeah, again, that whole politics thing, you know, it doesn't mess with what I already do. What I already do, that's still going to stay there. That's never going to change. So yeah, don't worry about that shit, you know. I occasionally dip my toe into other things. This is something I've done before. Anyway, okay. Shooting range. I mean, it looks like Brandon Herrera's territory, really. Nothing. Oh, no, that's... oh, shit, hang on. I clicked on the wrong thing. There we go. No, that didn't fuck with the stream. Okay. Sorry, I meant to click on active files and go right to the start there. So we're doing all of this in chronological order. It basically showed the last one. Okay, nothing to read there. What does that say? Hodgson or something Sun. I want to say that could be an L and an H or Lawson, possibly. That's a scribble. That could be part of the island. I want to say. I mean, it does have the same sort of decor. I want to say. Anyway, nothing to read there. Okay, U.S. Army. Yeah, right. There's obviously got Jeffrey Epstein's name on there. What are some of the titles we got? These are actually clear. Some of these are actually clear. Okay. I'm actually going to rotate them so I can see them, because I'm not going to turn my head all the way to it just for that. Okay. I'm just going to go for the ones I can actually read. Now, don't know, I think that photo should have been redacted. But yeah, these are photos possibly of victims or unrelated people. Don't know. But anyway, The Bad Place. By someone, I think Upa something. That's the sort of name. Stephen King. The Stand. That's a Stephen King book as well. Silent Partner. Derek Hill. Gray Goodwin. Lightning. Dina Krutz Hideaway and Same Cold Fire, How They Do It. Polar Star. Peachtree Road. Sorry, I need to zoom in a little bit more. 5 O'Clock Angel, yeah, I can't read that. Winter, Killshot, Get Shorty. The Da Vinci Code. Yeah, a lot of guy reading here. West of the Indies. The Fantastic Plastic Mayhem? The Fantastic Plastic Voyage. The Bodily Head. Paradise North. Saboro. These books, while they could actually be legitimate books, I think they're more decoration. I've seen that come before. You can see it online. These are potential victims that I don't know if that's Maxwell. Maybe that's Maxwell. I don't know. That's an entire fucking cake. Greedy bastard. Oh yeah, what does this say? Yeah, it's documents like these I really want to see. Now, obviously, there's Jeffrey E. Epstein. That seems to be like custom printed stuff. Okay, what have we got here? Okay, capital D. This could be like a name. Daring or something, maybe? Or Danny? Danny, I think that's more likely to say. Again, I'm just going to try and say the words I can actually make out. A lot of it is very illegible. This one says holly. Obviously the name of a plant. More likely the name of a person. Nation, maybe? These are very hard. His hand is quite difficult to actually get through. Chill out, guys. Sorry, my cats have the zoomies. But yeah, that's all I can make out from that. But it's documents like that I want to see. It sort of, you know, gives any kind of insight is always an asset. Anyway. Yeah, J.E. We've seen him wear that logo before. I'll zoom in there. I don't want to get into his chest. Disgusting ass man. I mean, that's a J, that's an E. This could be an E. This could be like a meta brand or something like that. Again, I am not the most fashionable of individuals. I will happily admit that. Or it could just be his custom clothing brand name. Like, it could be like an ego thing. And from what we've seen of this guy, he does have an ego. He likes to hobnob with the elites. He likes to sort of collect photos. I mean, we saw in the first stream that he had essentially a shrine of photos of him meeting famous people. So yeah, he hobnobbed with the elite a lot. So, I mean, having his own custom brand or logo on his clothing, that is definitely something I can see him doing. Of course, this could also be a common brand of clothing that I do not wear, and people are calling me an idiot, are going to call me an idiot for even thinking otherwise. So, you know, if that is the case, please let me know. I won't take it personally. Anyway, what else? I've seen this guy before, but nothing to read. Nothing to read. Ooh. No, I don't think that's Matthew McConaughey. No, nothing to read there. Nothing to read, but I want to say that this guy's familiar at least. Nothing to read. Nothing to read. Nothing to read. Plenty of alcohol, though. Nothing to read. Though they're obviously having a very intense discussion. Lots of glasses of wine, so they're drunk as shit. So at the very least, these people are familiar enough with each other to get comfortably drunk around. You know, I know, for example, that if I went to a fancy meeting, and I didn't know anybody there, I would be careful with my alcohol. May not just be me, or it may just be me, but I think the sheer amount of glasses means that whoever's in this scene with Epstein, they know each other very, very well, and comfortable enough to do that. And you got to wonder, if they know each other very, very well, what else are they comfortable sharing, especially with a sheer amount of booze around. Anyway, how are we doing for time and views? Okay, well, we've been over an hour. Okay, wasn't expecting that. 5 viewers, okay? Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, a lot of this is boring and it's just me waffling through some of this stuff. That's absolutely fine. Nothing to read there, nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Or there, some old-ass people there. Nothing to read there. Or there. Or there. Or there. These are all single images, by the way. I can't scroll down. Nothing to read there. Or there. Or there. Or there. Or there. Guy asleep, but nothing to read. That's curvature of the wall. That's a plane, but nothing to read. Bunch of dudes though, nothing to read. That's a bed, I think. But no, that does look like a plane. Could be a yacht, I suppose. More likely a plane. I think a yacht would have like better seating, better facilities. I want to say. Concert, nothing to read. I don't know who that is, or who that could be, but nothing to read there. That's an adult. I want to say possibly, possibly not. Again, you know, when you're of that age, you could have, you know, you can have tall people and all that. But I want to say that's probably an adult. but nothing to read there. Where is this? No parking anytime, 7:30. Exit Sun. 1 hour parking, 8 AM, 7 PM, including Sunday. But apart from that, nothing to read there. Don't know who that is. Again, as I say, if it's an actual famous person who I don't know who it is, let me know. If you are actually watching and can be bothered. Nothing to read there. Okay, that's a smaller person, but this obviously this has the shape of Maxwell. But obviously, if it was Maxwell, she probably wouldn't be censored. No parking anytime, 7:30, 8 AM to 7 PM, including Sunday. What does that say? Pharmacy. How does that say? That's a D. D-A-N-E, Dane Red. Possibly. Sadly, I can't even make out what this says, and it's pixelated to shit. Oh, well. But yeah. I'm not sure what country that is. Possibly New York, but... I mean... There's trees. There's no trees in New York. Apart from Central Park, obviously. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. God damn. There is actually stuff to read here, and I want to sort of... I don't want to focus on this lady. I'm not even kidding when I say this. The revolting French, I think that says. Unironically, I think that's what it says. Yeah, the revolting French, I think that's what it actually says. Today, cloudy. Tomorrow, sun and clouds. Something 1951 to 2005. Oh, my voice is breaking, but I will get this data set done. 17 Juliet. Available. What does that say? Just like NYC something in. Oh no, just like NYC should be. Can't necessarily make out what that says either. But goddamn, well, that lady / man looks happy, but oh yeah, that's a dude. We're gonna move on. Well, you know, I want to say it's a dude, but yeah, I definitely want to move on from that shit. No. Stop trying to get me banned. There's certainly nothing to read there, and I don't even want to... Nothing to read there. Nothing to fucking read there. Jesus Christ. I swear Epstein's trying to get my channel banned from the fucking grave. Nothing to read there. I think he's pretending to be Spider-Man. I mean, I did that with mates once when I was like 14. Just like turn the camera around and pretend you're climbing a wall. Yeah, that does look like that's what he's doing. Yeah, and again, the dog's there. Yeah, still doing that. Nothing to read there. Or there. Or there. Well, he's less doing that and more keeping an eye on the dog. It's a cute dog. Owned by some horrible people. Nothing to read there. Okay, what does this say? Again, the glare. Now, we had this problem last time where it was so bright, you couldn't really see on the camera. Now, last time they didn't have an excuse because it was an FBI photographer. And the idea is you are meant to take photos of absolutely every single detail and leave nothing out. And camera glare, and not having a high-def camera, it does muck around with that. However, in this case, the camera glare, I cannot see this. Hang on, so this is like a binder. These are the binding bits. As for what I can actually read, OFF, ERT. I mean, this does look like flight jargon to me, and indeed, that is a pilot in charge of a helicopter, I think. So that could be I don't know, some kind of pre-flight checks maybe. Or something. That's helicopter jargon of some kind, but I don't know what it is. And indeed, we can't necessarily see because of this glare. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Or there. Flightcom, nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. I like the hat. I want a hat, but a hat like that, even though it's worn by an evil woman. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Or there. Or there. Nothing to read there either. They're in a helicopter. Nothing to read there. Now, we did see from witness testimony that I did 2 years ago, helicopter was the primary way they got to Epstein Island in many cases. This could be them doing that. I guess we'll see. But nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. There's no documents or anything like that. These are just photos like focusing on the actual people taken by the people themselves. Dataset 1 was the FBI taking photos of all the properties, all the areas. Well, when I say all the properties, the New York home and the Epstein Island itself, they just took photos of that, not the other properties, which we know he had them. But sadly, nothing to read here either. Oh, this might not actually be the island. This looks completely different. Oh dear. I'm so sorry. I'm slowing my words as well. I mean, as I say, I recorded a bunch of videos before doing this as well. But nothing to read here. Or here, nothing to read. That's pixelated as hell. But nothing to read there. They're in the helicopter again. Nothing to read here. Nothing to read here. Okay, we saw the initial photo, so this is all part of the same scene. They're at a shooting range. Oh no, maybe not. Nothing to read here. Kettler is the name of the table. But no documents. Nothing to read here. 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 Or here. It's the same photo. Nothing to read here. Nothing to read here. Yeah, sorry I'm going for these all flippantly. As I say, the main focus is to go for documents specifically. Because I don't have the expertise to analyze, like, pictures. I can analyze text just fine. But, yeah. Nothing to read here. But some very disturbing photos. Well, not... just less disturbing, more ominous, I think. Considering it's old and powerful people. And, you know. And, yeah, obviously when you know what happened... Yeah. Especially when some of the pictures are redacted as well. Okay. That might not be a victim. I think they're male. And also an adult. Possibly a victim. I mean, we don't know the sheer scale of the victims that were involved. But yeah. Possibly a suspect. Possibly something else. So I can only speculate. I don't know for sure. But sadly, there is no documents or anything to read here. Nothing to read here. I'm going to be saying that a lot. That's a book. What does that say? In fact, it looks like the same book, but there's no text on front that I can see. Nor this one. They're basic, like, table books, just for decoration, I feel. Especially when there's two of them. There is something here. I can recognize the musical notation. As for what the titles are, I'm unable to tell. Unfortunately. Indeed, that wouldn't be that important anyway, but whatever. But nothing to read here. Da Vinci Code, Dan Brown, I think. Is that his name? Yeah, Dan Brown. That's the book up there. That's the only thing I can really read. Now, a lot of this with the old bookbinding backgrounds, quite often these are just like blank books or plastic things that's just decoration. Now, they could very well have sustenance, but I can't read any titles, obviously. I can't read the contents, but I will say a lot of these are probably just there as decoration, and you can buy like these old-fashioned, like decorative bookbinders or things that look like bookbinders just to sort of pad out a bookcase, if you will. And that's probably why this is all filled up, and then you got probably the book he liked to read over here. I don't know if that's a document or not. I can't read it from there. Books on the table. We've got a lot of pictures. Sadly, no text. Especially when you zoom in. Jesus. Look at that. Can't deal. Oh, well. How's everyone getting along in chat anyway? You guys enjoying this? Maybe? Maybe not? I don't know. Regardless, I'm not, because there's nothing to read. And there's also nothing to read here. Yeah, it looks like they're looking at a stately home. I don't think this could actually belong to them. But I want to say it's so furnished and they're having a look around. In my country, you can have stately homes that are sort of made out like museums in a way. And it's available for public viewing. I've seen that a couple of times. This is what this looks like, even though, you know, he's rich enough to own something like that. But it does look so pristine, so nice. It could just be a show house, I want to say. We don't know. Certainly stuff like that, she's having fun with that. It's probably a show house, especially something in that state. That's an old well. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. I'm just wondering what the hell that was, sorry. Nothing to read here, although, yeah, there's a fancy garage. There's a car here. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Obviously, there's a fucking barn. Looks very fancy, but sadly nothing to read. Is that Mark Zuckerberg? Is that actually Mark Zuckerberg? I don't know. Probably, I want to say it's somebody else, but it looks very, very similar to Mark Zuckerberg. If it isn't the guy himself. Anyway, nothing there or there. Nothing to read. Nothing to read. Nothing to read. We've seen this guy before. Looks like some politician, maybe. But nothing to read. Nothing to read. Nothing to read. Again, nothing to read. Just... Jesus, that fucking forehead. It's like Megamind. Nothing to read. Nothing to read. That's blurry as hell. It's probably Maxwell taking the photos, but nothing to read here. Nothing to read. Nothing to read. Nothing to... We got this guy with a creepy-ass grin. But there's nothing to read here. Okay. Huntress, Georgetown, CI. CI? Cincinnati? Oh, no. Cincinnati is in Ohio. I'm sorry. I'm not American. I don't know the states. Oh. Well, I'm sorry to everybody following along. There's really not much to read here. But as I say, this is just to show that I'm being thorough. Just so we're actually getting readable stuff. And indeed, this has borne fruit before. But as I say, if it does bear any fruit, I will clip it essentially and make it as a separate video. I mean, the only highlight of last time was just doing like 30 minutes worth of emergency contact forms, which was not fun to do, but it shows the dedication, really. Anyway, nothing to read here. That's a yacht. Great pizza. That's what it says on repeat. Behind Cold Stone. Dolphin Dreams, I want to say. Dolphin Dreams, I think that says. Not quite sure what these say. Some kind of aquatic place, or just a marina with various facilities and things they can do. United States Secret Service. Can you buy this stuff online? Let me double check. Okay, so a quick look. While you can buy, like, you know, custom-made stuff and all of that, that t-shirt, I mean, it looks more formal, but I can't... A quick Google search means I cannot find that exact t-shirt on there. So, if you're watching, I encourage you to try and do the same. See if you can Google it. See if you are actually able to buy an exact t-shirt like that online. Because if you can't... and there's a possibility, if you can't, that is an official t-shirt that they give to the United States Secret Service, Although having said that, of course, I could be talking shit because a lot of them wear suits and all of that. If indeed that there is a t-shirt they can wear, what's he doing with one? Again, really, I shouldn't be doing anything other than just reading stuff. But I read that says United States Secret Service, and I'm wondering, where can I get a t-shirt like that? Can anybody get a t-shirt like that? Why does he have a t-shirt like that? You know, it's all about asking questions, this, as well as reading stuff. Anyway, nothing to read there. What's he reading? That word says Tim. That's it. That's all I can see. But nothing to read there. What are you looking at, asshole? Nothing to read there. Oh, goddamn. He's got bigger tits than me. Nothing to read there. That's not his island. There's nothing to read there. Bloody hell. I do not want to see man tits on my stream. Hang on. That could be an underage. That could be a victim. Clothing, complexion, bag. Why, possibly. Of course, tall enough to be adult as well, but yeah. I've got to point that out, like, potential victims. You know, justifying things getting black boxed and censored, which, you know, I can completely understand. As I say, protect the victims at all costs and see that they're the perpetrators of their, you know, see that their attackers get justice brought to them. Nothing to read there, nothing to read there. God damn it, I hate that Mantix guy. Well, not that I was going to take any money from this anyway, but yeah, we're probably getting demonetized here. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. That doesn't say anything. I thought there was a sign there. Can't necessarily make out that. A height, I think that word says. Exit, that's what that word says. Yeah, he's got plenty of legroom. He's showing that there. What's there? Some kind of magazine, maybe? I don't know. Nothing to read there. Again, nothing to read there. Navy, that's what that says. And this happy chappy bringing out a huge-ass cake, which has made me very hungry. Hello, Clara. Is Dexter there as well? Yeah, I think they are. Well, they're happily having the zoomies outside, so if you can hear any pitter-pattering of feet, that's them. Nothing to read there. Navy again. There's nothing to read there. That's a fuck ton of candles. Nothing to read there. Exit. Door jettison procedure. Lift door lock. Pull cover. Lift red handle. Push door here to exit. Aviation report. And this writing is too small, but that's some kind of aviation report because we saw the words. Anyway. So yeah, I know we're not got many viewers. I can understand. It's not a particularly exciting stream. We will get something more exciting that's not Epstein related at some point during the year. I do want to stream more. I'm focusing on planning like a professional stream setup. So I'm thinking like an overlay of some kind, which will be really, really nice. I've got to add like a big YouTuber because I don't really feel like one right now, even though I technically am, which feels really weird for me. Nothing to see here. That's blurred. Oh no, those are seatbelt signs. Nothing to see here. That's something you find on a normal plane. What's this writing here? Waste container, headset storage. That's on a helicopter. Are together mortgages. That's what that says. That's a number there. Call 0645 600 42. What does that say? Can't necessarily make the rest of that out. This stuff is... Yeah, this is very pixelated. I'm sure you can see on the stream. I can do what I can. And might I say, the view count, it seems to be waxing and waning quite heavily. It's like, are new people discovering this stream? Or are they, or is it just like subscribers saying, oh, is he dead yet? Has he gone insane yet? The answer to that is yes, but I was already part of the way there, so I've learned to function well as completely insane. Anyway, nothing to read there or there. One, two. That's potentially someone that's underage. This person I don't know. Yeah, sorry, I really shouldn't speculate as to whether someone's a potential victim or not, but I think it's a good idea to just sort of stay grounded and to remind myself why the hell I'm doing this. What does that say? Bean, maybe. I mean, that is a bean, or Stan. Bean, maybe. Yeah, we've seen this guy before. Ivian. What is this? Some kind of hookah. But, oh, no, it's not hookah. 40% volume. That's some kind of alcohol. Oh, no, that's a decanter. Although, having said there's nothing in there from what I can see. And they got fireworks attached to it. Must be nice. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. That's Richard Branson. I know who that is. Another rich guy with another big island. In fact, could this be Richard Branson's island? Quite possibly. Possible victims in the background. Yeah. Thin arms, possibly. Although, then again, I know many women my age that have thin arms as well. But nothing to read there. JCE, yeah, again, that logo, is it an actual legitimate logo? Or is it JE for Jeffrey Epstein? Oh, we have a comment. Aaron Weber 2377, I just discovered a stream. Are you subscribed, or is it just like something you find in the YouTube algorithm and you were just like, what? Is this twat really reading the entire Epstein stuff? And the answer is yes, I am. But it'll be interesting to see if we're actually getting new people, like, popping along, seeing what the hell I'm doing and then going away, or if it's just like my subscribers seeing this in their feed. But regardless of whether you are or you're not, welcome. This is mainly like sort of some kind of an archiving process, because my focus is to narrate the entirety of the Epstein files. I did this 2 years ago with the court documents release, and under the Epstein Files Transparency Act, I'm currently going through dataset 2. So I will eventually get to the lot, even though I have been told there are millions more files that need to be released. Which, yeah, I'm on 3,500 at the moment. So, yeah, I might have my work cut out for me. You're here because of Garbro. It's been a while since we spoke to him. I hope he's doing well. Anyway, nothing to read here. Kip. There are no shortcuts. Okay. That's what that says. The logo there. Wrinkly ass head. Nothing to read here. Nothing to read here. I think this might be... Oh, Jesus. I want to say this is possibly Richard Branson's island. Just because we saw Richard Branson. And we've seen the photos of Epstein's island. And this isn't it. So yeah. And that's the man himself. God almighty. Well, I know he's dead, but I still want to punch the guy. Yeah, he still wants to stare at me. There we go. That looks like an outline of Brock Lesnar. Oh, yeah, he's getting over a cold, but he's going to start putting out videos again this week. Well, I was all recently as well, so I can completely empathise. One of my aunts gave me COVID over Christmas, which really put a spanner in my plans. But no, this looks like an outline of Brock Lesnar. The Beast Incarnate. Anyway, that's... no, it's not him, though. Please, Brock Lesnar, do not kill me. It's not actually you. I know that. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. Oh, yeah, I should have a word with Gabro at some point, actually. Because I did promise to... Well, I did say it would be a good idea to collab on something at some point. Whether it's like a D&D game or something or not, or just playing Helldivers. That could be fun. But then again, I don't think he wants to join me doing this shit. Nothing to see here. Nothing to read. Limitless, possibly, that says. Limit, and there's the L, and possibly an E. That could be Limitless. Yeah, Limitless. I got it right. So the blue buildings, white doors, that's I did see that motif on Epstein Island as well. So yeah, we'll see that. That's maximum nothing to read. Nothing to read. Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm just here to read documents, and at the moment we're dealing with a lot of photos. We will eventually get to some actual proper scannable documents, but these photos do have a few documents, a few needles in the haystack, and unfortunately we're going for the haystack at the moment. Nothing to read here, nothing to read here, nothing to read here, nothing to read here, or here, nothing to read here. It's the same scene. Nothing to read here, or here. This guy we've seen a lot of. That creepy ass smile. We've seen that plenty of times before. Nothing to read here. Okay, we got more photos. I think it's just 2. Nothing to read here, and it's pixelated again, so nothing to read there. Again, same scene. These are quite a few of these are repeats. Nothing to read there. Yeah, nothing to read there either. It's the same photo. So now again, nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Food's done, break is over. I guess I've got to go back to work now. Oh, well, no, thank you very much for coming along anyway. The VOD will like automatically save and encode. So yeah, I learned when I did the Chris Chan stuff that I can't go above 12 hours because if the stream lasts above 12 hours, YouTube won't encode it and it won't save it. And when I did the Solitude comic, I was able to get the entire lot done. Like there are like still like a few odd pages that are technically part of the next issue, but that hasn't been released yet. But I was able to get the entire Solitude comic by Chris Chan done in under 12 hours, and goddamn, that took a life out of me. But yeah, but this point is, this will encode, this will save, there'll be stuff there, and if there's anything really interesting, or anything that stands out at all, I will basically clip it and make a VOD. Now, Jeff's. I mean, I speculated before that this guy has such an ego that he brands his own clothing. So Jeff's is entirely possibility. Nothing to read there, nothing to read there. Smug cunt. Nothing to read there. Oh god. Well, I mean, this stream is probably demonetized anyway. I can get away with the odd swear word or 20. Anyway, nothing to read there, nothing to read there. What does that say? No, I don't think that says anything. Nothing to read there. It's pixelated as hell, Jesus. Nothing to read. Is there... don't know what that says. No, it's pixelated. I can't make it out. Nothing to read there. Oh god, sorry, my voice is completely going as well. Glass. That's what that says. But apart from that, nothing to read there. Santa Claus there for some reason, but nothing to read there. Limitless. We've seen that before. It's the same scene. Seen this T-shirt as well. I can't remember what it said, but I did say it at the time. But sadly, nothing to read there. That tattoo looks new, but nothing to read there. Yeah, like old-ass, hairy-ass skin. That tattoo, being as bright and shiny as it is definitely new. Could be like a temporary one, of course. But nothing to read there, nothing to read there. Limitless again. That is very bright. That's a lot of glare. Doesn't look like there's any names on the phone here, so there's nothing I can read there. Nothing to read there, nothing to read there. Okay, that guy's got a teddy bear. What does that say? Yeah, that's sort of like mirrored, that one. So EJ8, maybe? I don't know, could be a prank gift of some kind. But if that like ribbon was sort of the other way around, I'll be able to read it a bit better. Okay, and that's a no and that's a 9. Yeah, so it's not a name or anything, it's like a mix of numbers and letters. Anyway, nothing to read there, nothing to read there. Well, that's a shooting range again, nothing to read there, nothing to read there, nothing to read there, nothing to read there, and nothing to read there. Okay, right, let's load up the last lot of this this data set. Alright, let's hope this loads up without crashing. Hmm. 9 viewers now, it's gone up. I want to think it's mostly people, like, just randomly clicking on me on YouTube, just, what the fuck is going on? And then be like, oh lord. But yeah, I've selected the remaining files in dataset 2. So once that's done, dataset 2 will be done. That'll be 2 datasets down, with currently 6 to go, and a few extra things as well. Now, at the end of this stream, I will sort of go over the rest of the details and what we can expect later down the line. Anyway, this is basically just loading up a bunch of PDFs. Just once that's done, I can crack on. Oh, 10 viewers! Wow. I mean, I wouldn't say this is a peak of my stream, because I'm sort of settling in. We're doing the last 2 after dataset 2. But yeah, but just for those that are in any doubts or working out what I'm doing, I am narrating the entire Jeffrey Epstein files released recently, last Christmas. I completely narrated the court documents released 2 years ago. So yeah, and we got more to come as well. So when it comes out, I will read all of it. But it's just at the moment we're going through photos where there is nothing to read. There's just things to see. So for example, there's no letters here apart from like the reference at the bottom, but I'm not reading that bit. So yeah, nothing to read here. Nothing to read here. And incidentally, I've made a playlist of the Epstein stuff. It includes my, includes about, what, 40 hours, 45 hours of me reading the 1,000-page court documents released last year. But, like, the VODs, like, the live streams, the saved live streams, that's going to feature in the Epstein playlist. But also, like, anything I clip and title and all of that, that's showing up in there as well. Now, there's some very interesting stuff there. There's, we're back down to 6 viewers. I need to stop yapping. There's, for example, a letter from a conspirator, showing sympathy towards Epstein in the light of everything that got released. And this was when he was still, on the run and not talking to anybody. But obviously they eventually got him. And the other one was thank you letters, I want to say, for a weird term of phrase, from victims. And obviously this was clearly during the grooming process. So yeah, stuff like that I will clip, stick up, so people can have that point of reference. But yeah, but anyway, but apart from that, this is a very, very boring stream. But this is just, I'm doing this specifically to save later on, so people know I'm thorough and I have been going through the whole lot. Because people are going to call me out on bullshit if I don't do that. Anyway, nothing to read here, nothing to read here, nothing to read here, nothing to read here, nothing to read here. I mean, he's probably holding that wrong anyway. Like, I mean, does he have it braced in his shoulder? I don't know. Possibly. Then again, what do I know? I'm not a gun guy. Nothing to read there, nothing to read there, nothing to read there. That's a different gun, nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Yeah, it's all just posing with guns, that's fine. Nothing to read there, nothing to read there, nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. As I say, we're just looking for documents. Nothing to read there, nothing to read there, nothing to read there, or there. Give me a document to read. Give me something. Okay, that's a lot of glare. We see this guy again. He's got something there, but I think that's a barcode. Nothing to read there. G. Nadia's property. And that's Epstein. Alright, what does this say? State news. Greeting cards, party supplies, gift wrap, magazines, lotto, stationery, Hollard. Grass or something. Oh, hang on. Marketplace, there we go. You see, this is what happens when I don't have any documents I can read. I just read random signs and random ass logos and stuff. Anyway, no documents on the table. I mean, if I was the government, I'd probably blur that out, but that's very pixelated anyway. But sadly, nothing to read here. Hang on. Is that Dexter's laboratory? Yeah, I used to love that cartoon as a kid, and he's got a party hat for that. But nothing to read there. That's Maxwell, that's a birthday, but nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. God, I hate just looking at that guy. Well, Maxwell has champion stenciled on her ass. Considering she's in prison, that champion status did not last. Okay, right, what have we got here? 9:45 it says on that clock there, I think. I think it says 9 rather than 5. Nothing to read. What they got here? Like, I am just reading everything. Okay, that's a Vogue magazine. 75 life-changing ideas for 2007. So that's when this photo was. Cook yourself slim. Gee, I wish I could do that. Dress, original, past and present. Well, women's fashion is not my forte. Indeed, men's fashion is also not my forte. Anyway, that's a repeat. Oh, hang on, there's... They show a little bit more of the magazine. There you go. 50 best dressed originals, past and present. Okay. Angelina Jolie in Vogue magazine. Whoop-de-fucking-do. Anyway, nothing to read there. That's 9:46 now. So, taken within the same time frame. Bunch of old-ass dudes. Nothing to read, though. Nothing to read. Nothing to read. Nothing to read. Or here. Or here. That's Maxwell. Oh, hello, Clara. He's a good girl. He's a good girl. You're alright. You're okay. He's a good girl. Ah, so he was holding the shotgun right. That's fine. I don't know. I think it's just the angle I was looking at it. But then again, you can tell by my accent, I'm not American. I'm not allowed to shoot a gun. Yet. Although I think if I visit the US, I've had many promises from various Americans that watch the channel to take me to the shooting range. It's go to America, go to a shooting range, and go to a Waffle House. And number 3 optional is get into a fight at Waffle House. I don't know if I can do that or not, but we'll see. But yeah, I think if I go to America, I've definitely got to shoot some guns. I think if Donut Operator and Brandon Herrera do their whole range day thing, I've got to get involved in that. That sounds like so much fun. Anyway, there's nothing to read there. Or that... Okay, well, I know why that box is there. Jesus Christ. Thank you, US government. I appreciate the box being there. And my channel appreciates that as well. Okay. Internet, panashop.com.br. So that's Brazil. SAC 5821 5050. Fakusua Obshao Produto Osem Cervico. And that's 9,450. So that's all in Portuguese. That's what they speak in Brazil. Rope. But apart from that, doesn't say anything. Can't quite see around there. He is reading their paper, though. When's that? Ensure bid by WTO firm. Huh, WTO, okay. Steve Bunsley? I don't know. That's the writer, but apart from that, the writer is too small. And damn, dude, shave your chest. Well, I guess you can't now, but whatever. Anyway, nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. I mean... They were in Brazil before. Could be that part of the world. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Or there. What does the Z stand? What does the Z stand for? God, I'm losing my voice already. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Or there. Or there. Or there. Give me a document. Nothing to read there. This could possibly be the Zorro Ranch again. I mean, indeed, he's got the Z there. I mean, he has worn clothing saying Zorro or whatever. Zorro is the name of his ranch, which I think is in New Mexico or Colorado or somewhere like that. But yeah. Yeah, that's a shotgun. I'm not sure what this wilderness reminds me of. It's definitely not my country. Far too bright and sunny. Nothing to read there, nothing to read there, nothing to read there. Again, we're looking for documents, so nothing to read there, nothing to read there, nothing to read there, or there, or there. Yeah, too many photos of people. I'm nothing to read. We are getting documents later. I don't know if they show up in dataset 3 or not. Certainly, I won't be able to stream tomorrow, so we'll probably find out either during the weekend or on Monday. I might actually not stream during the weekend, actually, because I want to play with my cats. They need a bit more attention. Nothing to read there or there. We've seen this guy plenty of times before. This guy we're only just seeing, but I mean, is that a chef's uniform maybe, or a shirt? I mean, it's more of a shirt really, but yeah, it looks more like a chef's jacket than an actual fancy shirt. Because I wouldn't use those kind of buttons. The buttons would normally need to be the same color or a neutral color rather than just outright black. But I don't know. That's just my fashion sense talking. I did used to work in the city, so you know I wouldn't wear a shirt like that. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. It's Maxwell again. Nothing. What does that say? That says Eclipse, and that is an. I want to say that's a red cross of an England flag. Can't necessarily read that. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Or there. Hello, Clara. Hey, what are you doing? Alright, brace yourself just in case she turns the PC off. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Hey, get out from under there. Clara. And now Dexter is going there as well. Okay, well, hopefully they won't do anything. I mean, they do tend to like just go around there, not muck around with anything, and just come around the other side. And I do keep a few protections around the PC so they don't like properly batter at it. Anyway, nothing to read there. Okay, nothing to read there. What does that say? Sound like a curve letter. D, that's an E. I'm not sure. Hey, get away from there. I know what they're playing with. Excuse me one sec. Guys, don't. Let me get that. Let me get that. Because otherwise, if you batter at that, you're going to turn my PC off. Hey, let me get that. There we go. Here's good kitty. Dexter, get out from under there. So they'd actually knocked this thing over, which is a it's like you stick it in your fingers, you use it to exercise your fingers, which is what I do sometimes. They basically knocked it by the extension cord, and the extension cord has some buttons that you can tap to sort of turn specific. You know, it's a switch to turn the power off for certain things. And considering it's attached to my PC, I don't want them doing that. Anyway, I think it's cozy. No, he's holding it right. It's a shotgun. Yep. Lift ticket, possibly. Walter Cronkite. That's the name of one of the people I couldn't identify. And I'm an armed security guard. Ooh, sounds cool. I think we do have a few security people on the server. They normally tell me, oh yeah, they work security, they work nights, and they don't have to do anything, which I can completely understand that grind. I used to work in finance, but unfortunately I couldn't do nights until I'd gone past a certain point. And by the time I got to that point, they'd actually extended. They basically made another office in the Philippines, so they weren't doing nights anymore. It really pissed me off because I wanted to get paid more, and I wanted to not have a manager breathing down my neck. But on the plus side, it all led to me doing this. Clara, what are you doing up there? Sorry. My cats have been absolute gremlins. They're on the shelves on my desk. They are trying to claw at a bunch of things. I really want to get the stream. I really want to finish this data set, Cat. You can't be distracting me. I think if it gets too bad, I might have to actually shut them out. Right. Okay. You can stay like that for a bit, but if you misbehave, I'm going to kick you guys out. Anyway, sorry about that. Nothing to read there. Silly photo. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Yeah, a lot of these are repeats. That's Epstein. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Yeah, nothing to read there. Yeah, is all evidence, but it's mainly just silly photos. But at some point, we're looking for documents. But you know, I just have to sift through all of this. Well, that's the letter F. But apart from that, there's nothing to read. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Or there. Nothing to read there. Or there. Can you see Clara? Would you like to say hello to the cat? Hey, Clara, look over here. Here's a good girl. You see what I have to deal with? Don't touch that. Yeah, Clara, what are you doing there? Well, I found the highlight of the stream that I'm going to clip. That's a quick question. So it's just a bunch of photographs. This data set is. There are some PDF documents later down the line. Also, why the hell am I focused on... There we go. That was a thing of deodorant. Okay. Hey, out you go. You've been a bit spicy. You're gonna have to go. Sorry, my shelf is a bit rough. Is all, you know, various things I've had to hide from the kitties. Okay. Cat's been evasive. I think if they go out of the room, I'm just going to shut the door, get the stream done. Well, yeah, that's the highlight of the stream. She's never been on that shelf before. Anyway, Jesus Christ. Naked ass dudes. Yeah, naked ass dude. Yeah, there are scanned documents and stuff. I'll be doing that. That's the focus of the Epstein Files. I did that last time as well. But yeah, but because this is part of the drop, I've got to do it all. Because there's a lot of creators out there that are just like trying to do a summary, and then I find a lot of them are trying to do it to sort of push their political opinion, saying, "Oh yeah, you know, Trump's in this, so he's featured in this. Trust me, bro." Or Clinton's featuring this, although we have seen Clinton a lot in this stream. Yeah, I don't want to do that. I want to just cut it straight down the middle, and I'm just going to read it and let people make their own conclusions. Anyway, nothing to read there, nothing to read there. Or there. Or there. Or there. We may be blitzing for a few of these. Nothing there. Or there. Hello. You two behaving? Of course you're not. Anyway, nothing to read there. Another birthday. Hang on. What's the age? I don't think there's an age on there. Maybe she'll blow the candles out and we can see. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. This guy loves his dressing gowns. Not sure who that is. Top of the head. I mean, that guy looks like a manlet. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Or there. Or that. Jesus, this creepy ass dude. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. I don't want to see this guy. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Yeah, these are all just normal photos. There's nothing to read here. Nothing to read here. I tell you what, we'll scout a few of the of dataset frees. I won't, officially be reading them or anything, or going through them. I'll basically start the next stream starting a dataset free, even if we go for a few this stream. I just want to see what's ahead and see if we can actually get some juicy stuff. Nothing to read here. What have we got here? That's December 2004. I think, yeah, that's a 4. But apart from that, nothing to read here. Hang on. Bread. Oh, no, that is a loaf of bread. Yeah, I think. Well, it says bread something. I don't know if that's an actual loaf of bread or not. But yeah, that says bread. That's all I can read. Anyway, nothing to read here. Red whip. Yeah, it's spray cream. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Or, McVitie's hobnobs. I know what those are, but nothing to read there apart from that. Nothing to read there. Like, I will literally read food labels if I don't get any documents. Dairy Fresh. Grade A Ultra Pastured. Half and half. That's chocolate, I think. Red Whip. That's saturated low-fat buttermilk. That's what that says. Grey Porpon. That's Dijon mustard. Kapai, that's a yogurt. Or yogurt, as the Yanks would call it. Yeah. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Cute dog. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Yeah. All personal photos. There's less things to read here than what the FBI were photographing in dataset 1. But, you know, gotta be thorough. Nothing to read here. 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 Oh, you fat bastard. Nothing to read here. Nothing to read here. Nothing to read here. Or here. Or here. Give me something to read. There we go. What does that say? Okay. Patent number 388857. Yamaha. Starter, I think that says. Yeah, this says starter. He's wearing, jogging bottom saying starter. Yeah. And this is Yamaha again. Nothing to read there. Oh, for God's sake, Clara. What are you doing? Don't pour out the wire. Yeah? You're not supposed to do that. Little darlings. Nothing to read here. Nothing to read here either. It's the same anyway. Nothing to read here. Or here. Or here. Or here. Or here. It's not Epstein's Island, by the way. This isn't Epstein's Island. I think it does look like a private island, but not Epstein's from what we've seen. Although that said, these are like very early videos compared to the photos of Epstein Island that we saw in the last stream, on the last couple of streams. So yeah, nothing to see here. KAO something. Nothing to read there, or that this guy again. Nothing to read there. Kaori. That might be the name of the ship. But nothing to read there. Nothing to read there, but it's Kaori on the back. Life Sling. Nothing to read there. I will literally read like random ass labels at this point. Let's have a look. It's my job is half the reason I listen to you. Yeah, security guard. Yeah, that checks out. You're not the only one. So what fresh hell are we in for now? Well, we've gone from random pixelated FBI photos to photos taken from Epstein's devices of him, his friends, and some very important people. Unfortunately, we haven't seen much readable stuff, but we've still been able to make a few observations. Hello Kitty. Yep. I'm going to clip that. I'm waiting for the good guys to force everyone to watch the really bad stuff when they force martial law across the USA. I'm not kidding. I'm in the UK. I can't comment on that. I wouldn't even know where to begin. Besides, my country's enough shit as it is without worrying about anybody else. I need anything else then but Space Babes. Space Babes occupying Earth makes me mad. Oh, we got Space Babes. Although I finished Space Babes, actually. It's Sex Babes and Steampunk Babes now. Although there's plenty of other stories. There's just one drop as well. There's a lot of sexy Space Babes on the channel. Stuff in the refrigerator was called Ready Whip. Okay, yeah. We don't have that brand in the UK. I assumed it was like some kind of spray cream. Anyway, I'm getting distracted again. Nothing to read here. Nothing to read here. Nothing to read here. Nothing to read here. Nothing to read here, or here, or here, or here, Or here, this is his yacht. Nothing to read. What does that logo say? That doesn't say anything. It's just a boat. That could be like a staff logo for the crew. Nothing to read here. Nothing to read here. Or here. Nothing to read here. Nothing to read here. Or KA something. That's very pixelated. That's a lot of signs as well. Nothing to read here. Kawasal, maybe? 4x4? G50. God, that's not the kind of stuff I want to read, but, you know. I've got to read everything. Nothing to read here. Is that creepy-ass dude again. Nothing here either, or here. Yeah, we can blitz through several of these, I'm sure. Can't read that. Oh, hang on. N616AC, that's what that says. Nothing to read there. Oh, hang on, we can read this. That says air. 407. Can't do that. I mean, that might say trails at the end. Or red reef trails, maybe? I don't know. Red Reef? I mean, it was Red something that was the name of, like, the local Virgin Islands territory where they had the clinic, I think, or the medical center. Yeah, I mean, that was like a I guess a hub town which had Epstein Island in the field of influence. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on that. Can't tell that logo. Or we do have more than one, but it's... Oh, no, it's a pixelated one. Can't read that. Nothing to read there. Can't make out what that says. Nothing to read there. And I guess the same again. MN. Aviation. Something. Oh, this... Yeah, quality is still pretty terrible, but let's have a look. Confidential or continental at the end there? I mean, it's an aviation center, but this is... Yeah, zoomed out, you can't necessarily see it. And I wear glasses as well. My glasses are up to date. One trip, maybe? Or... One something. One trips, maybe. I want to make a good effort at trying to read this, except... Oh, hang on. Hemisphere? Western Hemisphere? Connections to something in the Western Hemisphere. That's what that says. These are phone numbers here. These are contact details for MN Aviation, I think. But I can't read this. Yeah, very, very difficult. Tours, maybe, I suppose. Yeah, maybe we'll get closer up. N491GM, there we go. Nothing to read there. Bose, nothing to read there. Yeah, nothing to read there. That could just be the pilot. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. 491, we've seen that before. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. A lot of smiling people for such a horrific case. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Yeah, nothing to read there. Nah, yeah. Smug dude looking into the camera. Yeah. It gives me a bit of a sour feeling, I think. Nothing to read there. Again, creepy ass dude. Nothing there. Of course, I bet this dude probably has enough libel to sue me at this point. Let's hope that doesn't happen. I'm not that big of a channel. So hopefully I'll go onto the radar as far as he's concerned. Unless, of course, he's in prison, in which case, I'm in the clear. Nothing to read there, nothing to read there. FUR something. Maybe we'll get an alternate angle. Yamaha, but nothing to read there. Oh, hang on. X Cruiser. Yeah. Yeah, I see all these photos of these people in the, in the Caribbean or wherever it is. I just get mighty jealous. Nothing to read here. Oh, good catch. Nothing to read here. An alternate angle. Yeah, that's an igloo cooler. Okay, nothing to read there. Okay, stop to... There we go. Nelly. Orbit 190. Sports something. Don't know what the hell that is. Some kind of floater. Although I'm not sure what you would do with this specifically. The rubber rings and inner tubes, that makes sense. Again, creepy ass dude right there. Glove, body, there we go. Yeah, but this I'm not sure. Unless it's meant to be something you put... It is like something you put underwater or something. Or if this is like a floating... I can't imagine. I mean, this clear thing here makes it look hollow, so I'm not sure what you would use that for. Does look a bit like a dildo, though. Anyway, nothing to read there apart from that. Or there, that's the same thing again. Nothing to read there. And yeah, I know most of that was in the tubes. It was just like the dildo, the phallic looking one. That I didn't know what that was for. But no, the phallic one was not an inner tube. I can tell you that right now. It was, yeah, I mean, I guess it could have been like a change room or something, or some kind of weird flotation one. It's just I've not seen that kind before. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Yeah, I don't want to see this dude in his fucking pink shorts. Nothing to read there. Okay, what do we got here? Waste oil, waste. That says police in the background. This could be a racetrack. I mean, there are some that have like open days where you can just take your car and just, you know, go nuts. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Yeah, it's racing overalls. Nothing to read there. Waste overalls. Candy stampers. There we go. Lick and erasers. Yeah, lick and erasers is, yeah, kids' candy. Yeah, I'm not sure how I felt about that. Anyway, is this still Epstein, but a younger Epstein before he had the grey hair? I don't know. I mean, Maxwell looks the same age as from what I've seen before. This could still be him. Yeah, it could still be him. Not sure. Anyway, Spice's Pottery Punch, made in some bath. I mean, that's Epstein there with obviously the grey hair. I don't know who that other guy was. It could be a younger Epstein. I want to say it's probably not, because it's not in order. Compared to what we've seen before. I think it could be another guy. Nothing to read there apart from that. And nothing to read there. That's a shotgun. I think, yeah. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Yeah, we've seen these guys before. That's like a... Oh no. We've seen this guy before. I made a comment about his shirt. This is like a gamekeeper thing. Do you have birds like this in the mid-US? Possibly, because I know they have the Zorro Ranch in the mid-US, because if it's not, I want to say that's probably in my country, or in Scotland. Anyway, nothing to read there. I mean, she's reading something. What is she reading? Just going to check to see if I can actually make anything out there. Doesn't look like it. Does look like a shopping catalogue, maybe. I mean, that looks like a handbag, maybe? This is a fancy lamp. I don't know. Getting on the home stretch, I think. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Oh, hang on, what does that say? We've seen this photo before, actually. Of this helicopter. But nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. What else have we got? That's a pixelated photo, so nothing to read there. Oh, that looks very, very fancy. Nothing to read there. That's Epstein. But nothing to read. Again, we're looking for documents and stuff, and I mean, I think even if I zoom in, I can't even read the spines of these books. I mean, these are amateur photos, like, taken by perpetrators or people associated with the perpetrators. So yeah, they're not designed to be explicitly done. That's Bill Clinton. Again, Clinton features heavily in these. Now, this isn't me, like, from a right-wing perspective or a conservative or Republican perspective, throwing shade on Clinton. I mean, from what we have seen, we've seen photos of Clinton, naked in a swimming pool with potential victims. We've seen Clinton essentially with a victim on his lap, and we've seen him hugging potential victims as well. I say potential victims, but from what I can see, a lot of these women look quite young, and height they're a little bit lower, and they don't have that sort of poise of an adult, if that makes sense. But no, Clinton is in the photo there. I think that's him, and indeed that's. I think we've actually got the actual photo of that scene, because there was someone else there. I think that's Epstein there, and that's Clinton. But something we discussed before is that Epstein loved to hobnob with the famous, and he liked to make photos of himself and these people. So yeah, that does check out. So anyway, nothing to read there. Doesn't even look like there's documents on the desk. Anyway, nothing to read there. Nothing to read there. Oh, I'm sure there's plenty to read here, but you can't make it out. It's ancient carvings. I mean, under normal circumstances, that would be very much of interest to me. But sadly, you can't. Yeah. You see, this is what I've got to deal with. There's nothing really to read here. Could always be just decoration. But it looks more like calligraphy. I mean, this does look like a foreign language. It's got the lines on the along the top could potentially make it a Hindu language or an Indian language. I've seen that before. Indian, Thai, the Siam region, that kind of place, because they like to have a lot of their letters just have lines along the top, and then you just read it as there's a line and there's a bunch of stuff there. But yeah, I mean, I want to say that's a language like that, but the architecture and the wall, no, it's something different. That's just decoration, just a wall made of headstones. And there's plenty of actual headstones there as well. So yeah, some kind of mausoleum. Anyway, yeah, bunch of headstones. Have they just been outright removed and stuff and just chucked to the side? Because if those are gravestones, that's incredibly disrespectful. I'm not that religious, but there's a few superstitions and things on the spiritual that I do adhere to, and disrespecting the dead, that's a big no-no for me. And I think this does disrespect the dead, because there's no way these are all packed this tightly together naturally. And those do look like gravestones. Anyway, nothing to read there. Or there, yeah, play wrestling, must be nice. Nothing to read there, or there. Or there. That is Epstein, I think. Nothing to read there, or there. Or there. It's all the same scene. Yeah, I can't. No, YouTube, please no ban. Yep, okay. I want to avoid that shit. Definitely want to avoid that shit. Same with that. God damn, he's getting more action than I do. Anyway, oh Jesus. LSJ maybe, or LS something. Is that? It could be LSJ, because I think we've seen that letter pairing before with relation to the maritime stuff, and there's an anchor there. So yeah, that could be LSJ. It does seem like, fucking Christ. It does seem like he likes to wear his own brands, even though those brands are just exclusive to him. Yeah, I don't want to go into that. There's nothing to read there. This guy looks as revolted as I do. I can understand, but nothing to read there. And this is the last one. There's also nothing to read here. And with that, we are now done with dataset 2. Wow. Alright. So I'm going to scout ahead with dataset 3. Now, I will say with dataset 2, there is also a video. I'm not going to play it there. It's only a couple of seconds long. I guess I can show it. Oh no, I can't. No, I won't open it on the PDF. There's a very, very short photo as well. Let me just see if I can check dataset 3. Data, nothing there. Okay, let's go up. It says images, but it's all PDFs. Okay, what have we got here? Yay! We've got things we can read, even though... It's a sex toy! Soap and a rope. Lever up. Here's my pussies coming up the stairs. But yeah, that's what it does say. Holy shit. Okay. Yeah, it might be a little while before I do this one, just so I can fucking scout everything ahead and just make sure there's nothing too compromising. Oh my god. What we got here? Anything else that's adult? No, but it does look like there's more. Okay, that's the massage chair. Well, it does look like there are readable stuff. I think dataset 3 might be an inventory of items. So yeah, that's something to look forward to. Jesus, I didn't expect the first one to literally hit me with a nuke and just be a literal sex toy. But yeah, as I say, I mean, it didn't show like, it didn't show it in full. It just showed the box. So maybe that's fine. But I do apologize for YouTube if that's a bit too spicy. But obviously, what I'm doing here, I think, is important work. I'm not just analyzing. I'm literally reading the entire thing. Anyway, let's have a look at chat. Stuff in the refrigerator. Ready whip. Yep. Kawasaki. Probably Tours. If you want rental, only choose that you use to water. Oh yeah, you're talking about the tube thing. So yeah. I mean, obviously that's something you use on the ocean or maybe the sea. I do have a sea near me, and I did go out. I was trapped behind a boat on like a banana boat or banana floaty. But that's about it. So yeah, that's probably why I wouldn't have seen one of that before. So it's like a inflatable tube with a thing on the end, and you sort of hang around to the inside and you get dragged behind. That I can completely get that. Hello, Clara. What are you doing there? But yeah, let me just switch back. Hey, don't be poking around there. Okay, well, if the stream suddenly switches off, you'll know exactly why. Because she's twatting around with my PC. But I'll be kicking the cats out here soon enough. Let me just switch back to the DOJ site. So yeah, we are now done with dataset 1. We are also done with dataset 2. We will carry on with dataset 3, and this is dataset 3 of 8. How many? In fact, let me just double check. How many images are in this dataset? This could be a lot. Oh, Jesus, Clara. Okay. In dataset 3, there are 67 items. However, it's nearly 12 o'clock at midnight, and my voice is cracking anyway. So, for archiving purposes, this is the stream completely covering dataset 2. I will do dataset 3 a little bit later. Oh, yeah, at another date. I'm just going to scout ahead on a few of these, actually. So, dataset 4. Yeah, dataset 4 has 152 items, for example. So, yeah, a lot of these datasets, they have significantly less material than dataset 1, which took me multiple streams to do. So, it might be that I'll catch up to what's been done relatively quickly and in good time. And indeed, that will just leave me hanging, waiting for the other stuff, which is yet to come, because I know that the DOJ has been ordered to release everything. They have not yet done that. So, yeah, I'll leave that to the DOJ and to the good people of the US to sort of protest and question why it's not all being released yet. But yeah, I'll just read it. I'll catch up, and just when more material is released, I'll go ahead and do that. Okay, but in the meantime, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for being patient with me. I'm not expecting big views from this at all. This is just the archiving, and if there's anything interesting like Clara popping up on the shelf over there, I'll stick that up. But anyways, thank you very much.